From the Alvin and Rosalie Sarachek studio, PBS Kansas presents Ageless Enthusiasm. Coming up on this episode of Ageless Enthusiasm, I'll be speaking with sound man Doug Kimball, who's been all over the world with some of the largest musical acts of our lifetime.
I did a tour with Alanis Morissette at the Roman Coliseum. The ruins, they converted into a outdoor concert venue.
I then speak with Danielle Norwood, who is a rock star DJ in the Topeka area.
He said, your voice is really distinctive. Have you ever thought about getting into radio?
All that and more coming up on this episode of Ageless Enthusiasm. I'm Mindy East. Welcome to Ageless Enthusiasm. I'm so excited for tonight's guest. This guy has been around the world after leaving Wichita, and now he's back. Doug Kimball, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You started out playing at the Red Dog Saloon.
Yep, started out in music.
And then you just kind of happened to get into some of the largest musical acts of our lifetime.
Yeah.
How'd you go from the Red Dog Saloon in Wichita, Kansas to playing at Madison Square Garden?
Well, they didn't have schools back then, so it was kind of a self-taught thing. But I don't know, I had to do sound for my band back then, and that just kind of was the bug that bit me.
And your band was?
Well, there's quite a few. I played in a band called The Dogs. With
Very
a
well
question
known.
mark. Yep, we were pretty well known.
Yep, here in Wichita scene.
Yeah. Sound Project was another one that did really well.
Okay.
But yeah, the bug bit me.
And was there a pivotal moment where you just jumped from playing to being a sound engineer?
Yeah. I realized I was working for a sound company here in town called MD Systems, John McBride, who now is married to Martina McBride, and we were kind of all in that little circle.
And I think my husband introduced the two of them.
Yeah. And so, like I said, the bug just bit me. It was like that. I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
So you started in Wichita. You were dragging Douglas, and you met your future bride, and you were in a muscle car.
Yeah, I had a 65 Chevelle at the time.
And were you obeying the traffic laws at that time?
No.
I didn't think so. Weren't you on the sidewalk when you spotted a pretty girl?
Yes, I actually pulled up on a sidewalk to get her attention. She was sitting in the middle in the back seat, and I don't know, just...
You knew.
You just knew. And I got him to pull over, and when she came around the corner, I saw my two kids, which I have right now.
Oh,
so.
Two boys.
Two boys.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was pretty neat.
So Margie has been your wife for all these years, and she stuck by you and continues to. And you've been all over the world, and now you're coming back to Wichita to retire. What's been a big change that you've noticed in
Wichita?
Here
in Wichita? It's really nice.
It's nice.
It was a little rough back in the days when I grew up, but it's.
Well, there were cars on the sidewalk back then.
Yeah, it's really turned itself around. I really think it's a fantastic city, and I've been to a lot of cities. Trust me, and I like the downtown area now.
It's very nice.
Very
vibrant.
Yep, a lot of vibe, a lot of
energy.
comfort.
Yeah,
you know, just good restaurants.
Yeah, excellent. Tell us some of your acts that you worked with. Who were some of your favorite musical acts?
Easier for me to tell you who I haven't worked for.
Okay, who have you not worked with?
I haven't worked for the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or Elton John.
Elton John.
That's
so I'm going to say Liberace and Elvis? No.
I did a little Liberace when in Vegas because
way.
we came from Vegas.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
Now, I think you've gotten really close to quite a few of them because you would be on tour for 6 months at a time, right?
Yeah.
Who were some of those favorites?
There's a couple. Tears for Fears is probably one of my most favorite. I got really close. They became family with me.
Yeah.
Which is very rare, because you kind of have to distance yourself a little bit. You don't want to, because management will get involved and go, "Oh, you're too close,"
Yeah.
trying to protect their phony baloney job, whatever. But it just makes them feel comfortable when you're on the same page with them.
Sure.
It's like, yeah, I want to achieve the goal that you're achieving. So that's really important to them. It really is. Gosh, there's so many. It's hard to put them all into
We'll
categories.
just have to have like a list. We'll have to do a scrolling.
Aerosmith was pretty fun, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yep, they were a lot of fun. Okay.
Now, speaking of family, you were able to fulfill one of your mom's fantasies.
Oh, yeah.
And who was that with?
Engelbert Humperdinck.
Oh my gosh, I remember that name.
Well, it's a good story because my mom used to go, "Why don't you get a real job, Doug?" I'm like, and this is like probably 10 or 15 years into my career. And she would never stop saying, "When are you going to get a real job?" So when I got hired by Engelbert, all of a sudden I had a real job.
Of course.
And of course she loved him, and she would come to shows, and I tried to introduce her, but she'd be like one of those really uber fans.
Yeah.
Like one show I'd get her to the stage, the next show I'd get her by the stairs. I think it took 6 shows before we got her backstage to meet him.
In Vegas.
Yeah.
And that was your home base, right?
Yep. 35 years in Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you finally got the two of them connected, how did that turn out?
Well, she was still salivating. So Engelbert had 2, and everybody calls him Inge, but he had 2 boys. And I told him, I go, "Look, my mom really wants to meet him, and there's no way I can let her go in there. She's just she's losing her mind." So what we did was we did a SWAT thing. So I said, "Okay, I'm going to give you the signal. You're going to grab her by the arms, carry her in there. I'll take a picture, and we'll get her out." And that's what we did.
Oh, good.
Because she could not speak.
Oh, she's so
starstruck.
Oh, how about that?
Which is funny because I never had a real job till Humperdinck.
Now, you have somebody very famous in your family. You have an Uncle Stan.
Oh, yeah, Uncle Stan. He's passed away, but he's a huge UFO. And they have a place in Roswell with his name on it. It's
And
a
what's
museum.
his full name?
Stanton Friedman.
Okay.
So he was amongst him and Carl Sagan were the 2 rivals.
Okay.
And he was very big in the UFO field. Did a lot of seminars, books, all that stuff. And I'll never forget, when the Freedom of Information Act came out, he goes, "Doug, you got to come see this." So I went to his house. He's got all these boxes in his basement full of paperwork from the government. So we start looking through it, and of course everything's blacked out, except the words "the" and "if" or whatever like that. But yeah, he was pretty famous in his field too.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they have a spot for him in Roswell actually. There's a museum down there now.
Okay. So besides being on the road, you made time to be home, and being a good dad was very important to you.
Very important for the kids when they were young. And by the time we had kids, I had become pretty successful, and I was able to work 6 months, take 6 months off, and be a dad. Give them that father figure, a little,
That's
which
awesome.
a lot of touring personnel don't get to do. And I tell them all the time, it's like, that job will still be here.
Yeah.
Just you need to take care of those kids when they're young, so they have some kind of structure or something.
Right. Good advice.
Yeah.
Good advice. Well, I think we're going to take a quick break
Okay.
and hear from someone else in the music industry, and then we'll be right back.
Sounds good. Thanks.
My next guest is an award-winning DJ, an event MC, and a speaker from Topeka. Welcome, Danielle Norwood.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. It's so nice to have you. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Now, Danielle, you have been in the radio industry for a really long time. Tell us, you've got an incredible backstory. Tell us about how you got into becoming a DJ.
So I babysat for the general manager of a radio station in Salina, Kansas. He said, "Your voice is really distinctive. You ever thought about getting into radio?" And I said, "Does it pay?" That's all I really wanted to know at age 12 was, does it pay? and then waited until I was 15 to actually do my first tryout, and from there it's all history.
So you went from babysitter to on-air talent.
On-air talent
Wow.
at 15.
Wow, that's amazing. So you grew up with your grandmother.
Yes,
grandmother and great-grandmother.
Great-grandmother. Mm-hmm.
And very
Very strict
traditional.
Pentecostal background.
Mm-hmm.
Very strict, 5th generation preacher's kid.
And we just toured the PBS museum, and you
Yes.
said you grew up watching PBS.
Yes,
as a
from the
kid.
time I was a little kid up until forever. I mean, and it's wonderful that I'm working at a PBS station now because,
Yes.
again, the love that I have for public broadcasting is just immense. When I won't watch regular, scripted shows, I always watch PBS.
Well, it's seriously good TV.
It is
really
seriously,
seriously
good TV.
You've got, you're on a show up there, all women,
Yes.
for women,
By
by
women,
women, called Inspire.
Yes.
And one of the shows highlighted your genealogy.
Yes.
What a trip that would have been. Tell us a little bit about that.
On my own, I tried to figure out my genealogy and really hit all these major walls. They had someone assigned to me for, I want to say, 7 or 8 months to really do the deep dive. So they went back 7 generations on both sides of my family, found out that I have ancestors that were enslaved by indigenous people, which they don't talk about in the history
No.
books. So I was like, okay, wait a second, what just happened? So
Right.
that was interesting. And then some of the stories about other family members. It was quite entertaining.
Now, you have a little catchphrase. I do too, but mine can't be repeated. Your catchphrase,
It's Merry Christmas.
and tell us what that means to you.
It's a gift.
It's a gift.
It is.
So was that finding out about your ancestors? Was that
It was a
that
gift. I think everybody wants to know where they came from. And it just made me so secure to know that all these other people paved the way for me to be here. So it's like, it's not just me sitting on this chair, it's my ancestors
love
too that are along with me. And
I
so I'm
love
so
that.
grateful for that.
You know, our parents would be so proud of both of us.
Oh, Granny and Great. Come on, girl.
Yeah, go on, girl. So this show is Redefining Life, Health, and Happiness over 50.
Yes.
This past year, you have undergone a healthy transformation. Tell
Yes,
us
I
a little
have.
bit about your experience.
Actually, it started at age 49. I wanted to really look at my health because I was morbidly obese and decided to make a few changes. And so at age 50, I said, okay, let's get this going. And actually, it was October of last year when I started. And from that time to this time, I've lost over 103 pounds.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is a huge feat.
Yes.
That is not easy to do.
It is not easy, and every day is a struggle. But I've picked up, these wonderful habits like exercise is fun for me now. Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought that? What do you enjoy?
I love deep water running.
Okay.
So I do a lot of that core exercises, weightlifting, and all that in the pool. Everything that I
Okay.
do.
And you have
is
a trainer.
Yes. Shout out to Lisa, who's changed my life.
Isn't that nice to have mentors that come alongside you and really make a difference?
Yes.
Who else in your life have you looked up to?
So many people professionally. Jerry Henriquez, I would say, the one who brought me into radio, who has been known at the national level of the Radio Association, the National Association of Broadcasters.
Right.
He's been the person at the forefront of all the trends, and now to be able to be a 2-time award-winning,
Yes, congratulations.
morning show host. I'm like, thank you, Jerry, because Jerry saw something in me that I had no clue was even inside.
So you've won twice.
For that,
Kansas
we've also
Association of
broadcasters. We've also won for the best of. I've won 4 years in a row for that, for best radio personality in
Yes.
Topeka and Northeast Kansas. And then recently, I won the YWCA Women of Excellence
You go,
Award.
girl.
So I mean,
You go, girl.
and again, all these things happen after 50.
So you had the Danielle Norwood show, which was a little bit of sass and class,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're on Magic 107.7.
It's the Magic Morning Show with Knight and Norwood.
Mm-hmm. And I know a little bit about one of your favorite musical artists. Could it be Magic?
Could it be Magic? Absolutely.
Who's your favorite?
Barry Manilow has to be. Oh, I mean, I've seen him when he was here in Wichita the last time. I had ninth row tickets. I was like, oh God, Barry Manilow. I mean, I freaked out, but what little kid from the 70s wasn't listening to AM radio and hearing, you know, Copa and Could It Be Magic and Mandy? I mean,
all those
the
good
hits
days.
go on.
Now, you've worked with a lot of talent as well. Who are some of the people that you've had into your studio to interview?
Or have I talked to on the phone?
Yes.
Garth Brooks, for one, which one of my favorite interviews of all time. People who I've loved since I was a kid. Larry Gatlin, the Gatlin brothers. And I've talked to two of them, and Larry Gatlin actually sang my favorite song on the air to me.
What was that?
Almost Called Her Baby by mistake.
Oh.
Beautiful ballad. And he just took him on. He's like, oh, give me a second. And then he just sang it in the original key. I was like, oh, let me levitate. It was just wonderful.
That's a mountaintop moment,
It
isn't
was
it?
a huge mountaintop moment. And then, of course, a lot of contemporary artists, the Oak Ridge Boys, because I had a background in country radio.
Okay.
Go figure. So the fact that as an African American, you wouldn't think that I would necessarily be versed in country, but somebody take me on because I could do it and have a fun time doing it. Because, again, back in, I don't know, the 1930s, 1940s, you know, all that stuff that I listened to is classic country.
Okay.
And then to today, I still listen to country.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Danielle, what has been the biggest surprise that you've had this year?
That I could fall in love again. Ended a 13-and-a-half-year relationship last year, and I didn't think it was possible because, again, to go on dating websites, it's like, oh, dating has changed so much. I don't know that either I want to be doing this or that, you know, this is even going to work out. And it just so happened that it did. And his name is Ken, and he's wonderful. And I can't say enough good things because this could be my person for the final chapter. We'll just see.
Oh, that's so neat. Well, you know, when a lot of things happen after 50.
Yes.
And so when you do end a relationship,
so hard.
it is hard. And,
Yes,
you know,
it
I've
is.
been there. A lot of people can relate.
Yes.
So I think you can give people hope that you're never too old to find happiness again.
No, there is life after love, and maybe love will come again. And that would be my Merry Christmas.
Oh, there you go.
That's the gift.
It is a gift. Well, you're a gift. Thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you.
And what's on the horizon for you for the new year?
Well, I'm working on doing some more things in TV, as well as expanding my radio career. And I have a video cast that I'm going to start on YouTube.
Oh, very good. Do you have a title for that?
Keeping It Real with Danielle.
I love it. Well, we'll look forward to hearing about that, and best wishes to you on continued success. Thank you for being my guest today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I'm back now with my guest, Doug Kimball. Doug, welcome back.
Thanks.
I want to ask you about some of the most memorable venues that you played at. What one stands out in your mind?
Probably, I did a tour with Alanis Morissette back in the early days of her records, and we sold 2 nights at the Roman Colosseum. So the Colosseum, the ruins, they converted into a outdoor concert venue. Right.
Cool.
Just the history, let alone the fact that we were playing there, but the history was great because it was still the same stuff. Like you could see chariot marks in the stones and stuff. They took us downstairs and showed us all where all the dungeon stuff was, and they did a lot of nice backlighting on the leftover ruins. Just gorgeous.
Wow.
You know, really pretty. That one sticks out a lot because of that.
And what's the best concert you've ever been at? Do you have a favorite?
That one sticks out mostly. I mean, I've done so many of them, it's hard to really pick. I liked that one. Australia was a shock. I started going down there, and then, believe it or not, they actually did put on some really good shows. And my favorite was doing the winery run.
Who'd you work with down there?
Rob Thomas and Matchbox 20.
Okay.
So they would so these wineries would do concerts to get people to come in and buy their wine. And of course, they'd bring cases of wine to us.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll drink it.
Yeah. Have to make sure.
So it was
okay.
really nice because I studied Australia in high school, and I really just
Where'd you go to high school?
Andover.
Okay.
Here in yep.
And you married a North High girl,
Mm-hmm.
like me. I'm a North High girl. Now, you had a special pet that I want to talk about. You had a rabbit named Gary.
Oh yeah, he's pretty famous actually.
And what made him famous?
Well, I would always post pictures of him because he was really silly. Backpedal just a little bit. I was working on my car in the garage, and he was walking down the street, and all the kids were yelling at me, "Doug, your rabbit's out." And I'm like, "No." I went and checked, and there's this white rabbit coming up, and he tugged on my pant leg while I was in my garage. And so we kept him.
And you had a rabbit.
We had already had other rabbits, yeah.
So you were a rabbit guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Fate.
come to find out, he liked to swim in our pool.
Oh, that's too funny.
He just loved it. You know, when I get hot in Vegas, it gets really hot. But yeah, just one day I thought I'd just see if he liked to swim, and that was the end of the story. And I posted that video, and he just became this huge star.
How funny is that? That's
and
cool.
I still get people asking me, where's, of course he's already passed away, but it's like.
Is there another rabbit in your future?
Probably. I like rabbits, actually.
You just got through with a stint at Purdue University. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana, to take a job at Sweetwater, which is a music company, huge music company. They hired me to run their audio department. So they had a pavilion out back where we would do concerts, and I'd handle a lot of the in-house whatever they were having, either guests or bands or whatever. So they hired me for that. Purdue found out that I was there, and they came to my office one day, just out of the blue. Said, "Hey, we're
Sign here."
Yeah, they were like, "I'm curious, so do you like to teach?" I'm like, "I've never taught. I don't know if I'd be any good at it, actually." The fact that they came and hunted me down was pretty nice.
Yes.
And it turned out to be really, really good and very satisfying. Because once I'd reached the pinnacle of what I was doing, I was like, well, what do I do now? And the teaching thing was the whole next level. It was like, I really didn't think I could do it, but I did a really good job.
A challenge.
Yep.
That's cool. Something like that in your future here?
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking towards WSU maybe.
There you go.
A lot of these colleges teach recording and that stuff, but nobody teaches what I've done. So it's kind of a little niche thing.
Good for you.
And like I said, a lot of people want me to do a online thing, but I'm not techno savvy like that. I like one-on-one stuff personally.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, we look forward to seeing what's in your future.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Actually.
Thank you for being my guest today,
Thank you, Mindy.
Doug.
Thank you
It's
so much.
fun to have you.
Thank you.
All right.
Likewise.
Thanks. I'm Mindy East, and thank you for being with us on Ageless Enthusiasm.